Hello YouTubers, I had a request to make a video on the different blacksmithing tools that I make. We're going to go through the different swage blocks right now. This in here is 12 inches by 8 inches, and this hole is 3 and that is 3-inch circle and 3-inch square. I've got different diameters up here: 1.5 inches, 3 inches, 2 inches. There's a 2.5, and then these are each 1 down here. I've got different width angles in here. They're 90-degree angles, but they're different depths. I'm debating on maybe changing it to different degree angles. So if you have something to bend that you want a 60 degree instead of a 90 or something like that, I may change this design a little. I saw one of these and I liked the looks of it, so I tried to come up with something that I could make. They're 2 inches thick also. But there's the first one, and I sell these. They're going to sell for $75 a piece, which I think is a deal for a swage block. Let me get the larger one. I'll be right back. Okay, this is one of the 12 by 12s. Now I've got two different designs. This one here is made if you're going to do a lot of different sized radiuses. Let's start with the little one. That one's 2, that one's 3, 4, 5, 5.5, and this in here is a little different. That might be a 6-inch radius, but I just didn't set it as deep down in. And the same way with this one. This in here is probably an 8-inch diameter radius, but I just didn't set it clear in. Like, this is the center of the circle. These aren't quite centered from this edge to here. And then it's got a 2-inch square, a 2 3/4 circle, 2-inch circle, and that's 1 by 4. That's one style of the 12 by 12 and 2-inch thick swage block. Let me get the other one. The other one is the one that most people are buying. This one here will be $75. Okay, here's the other 12 by 12 by 2-inch thick swage block. It's got more radiuses and squares along the edges than the other one does. It's got a 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch, 1 1/4, and these are 1/2, 3/4, 1 inch, and I believe this is 2, 3, and that's just a 90-degree. And this one here is probably a 6-inch radius with a 3-inch and a 2-inch and a 2 by 2 square. That is the most popular, but I haven't shown the other one too much. Now I also have one of each of this one and the one with all the radiuses that I didn't burn any holes in. And I thought if someone wanted to heat it up and press a spoon shape in it and make, different shovel shapes or whatever, I don't have the ability to do that, but I've got a couple of them that I did not put these holes in, so you can do that kind of stuff. They're all of them are $75, these larger ones and the ones with no holes. Now I have been burning some out of 4140 tool steel. These are all mild steel 836. This in here actually is a 4140 tool steel swage block. Those are $130, I believe. $130 for the no, $120 for that one with the tool steel. But most of them are just A36. Let me get the next one. Okay, this is my little one. This one here is 6 by 6, and it's got a lot of small little radiuses around it, all the way around, and then the squares and some V's in it. That one there I think of more as like a bench block, and you could drill different size holes in here for punching or using it to drive pins out, whatever, you know what a bench block's for. I sell these for $40, and I do have some in 4140 that I get 60 out of. Let me get the next piece. Okay, here's my striking anvil kit. I make these in 1¼ inch thick and 1½ inch thick plate. This is the top and this is the bottom. I make this larger just so there's plenty of clearance for your hardy hole. These 3 holes here are where you weld your feet on. And I use a 2-inch square 3/16 wall tube and put it on a, I believe, a 15-degree angle and splay it out that way and straight out this way. I weld those on underneath, so these would go right over the hole in the tubing, and then I give you 3 of these feet that weld on to the bottom. And after you weld your legs on here and your feet on the bottom, then you fill this with sand and tap and let that sand settle good and tight down in that tubing on the legs, and then you'll set this on top of there and it seals it up and weld your top on. And having that sand in the legs kind of stops the ringing and adds some weight. This is 1¼ inch. I sell those for $60, and the 1½ inch I sell for $80 for the set. Should I say that that's an 1¼ inch hardy hole there? Now it's Oxy burnt, so it's not perfect. So when you make your tooling to go in the hardy hole, you're going to have to make it for this, you know, and hammer it down in there, heat it up and hammer it down in so it fits right. So there's 2 different striking anvil sets I sell. This is a plate that I burn for your leg vices. You would mount your leg vise on here on a stand, and then you have a place to put hammers and tongs while you're working. That's 1/2 inch thick, and it's about 9½ between that hole and that hole, and 11 inches. So you got plenty of room for about any blacksmith leg vise gizmo that you're gonna like. This one here, that's something I made for a leg vise. You would mount it on here like this, tearing everything up, but you can mount it on there like that for your leg vise. I sell those for 20 bucks a piece. Okay, here's another tool holder I make for hammers and tongs, and it's bent and welded there. What I do when I burn it, I just cut a slot there so it makes it easier to bend, and then I weld it shut. And it's got holes big enough that a 1/2 inch bolt can go in it. And they are 17 inches long, and it's about 14 inches center to center on those holes to mount it. I get 20 bucks a piece out of those because it is a little more work on for me after I burn it, you know, bending it and welding it. Here's another one of the tool holders that's pretty popular around here. You would either weld it to a post or drill a hole in the center of it and bolt it down to a post. It's just a tool holder. You can make a stand on rollers so you can roll it around your shop and have your hammers and tongs close at hand. I sell those for $10 a piece because they're just as burnt. I do grind the slag off of them, but they're just as burnt. 1/4 inch thick steel plate. I have a few of these. They're 4142 steel. They're 9x16 and they're heavy. I just keep this one in here on my workbench so when I need to stamp something with my maker's mark, I have a good solid heavy plate underneath it. I think they weigh 80 pounds a piece. I can't remember for sure, but I think it's 80 pounds. You can use them for a little bench block to hammer on. An anvil, you know, if you don't have money for an anvil, 40 bucks, that's a good 2-inch thick steel plate. You could drill it and put a hardy hole in it, and a Pritchell hole if you wanted. Cut it up into strips and make hammers out of it. 40 bucks for a chunk of tool steel that big is, I think, a pretty good price, and I've been kind of surprised that people haven't jumped on it, put it that way. Okay, here's something small I made. What I did was I made that into a hardy cone that would go in the hardy hole of my anvil. I tapered it down and then I cut this so it fit in the hardy, and then I hammered it in, heated up, hammered it in, and rounded it and ground it into a pretty nice looking little tool. Those I'm going to sell for $5, I think. It'll take a lot of work to make it work for your anvil. But of course, you could do the taper work on that and round it up and leave it like that and put it in your leg vise and use it that way. Okay, I had these at Quad State last year. They're 6 inches tall, that's 8 inches, and it's 2 inches thick. It's just a cutout that looks like an anvil. If you want to, you can cut that on a to a point, and then round it and make a little horn. It's a small little anvil, but it would work, and it'd just take a little work to make it into one. And I think it would be better than you know, one of those cheapo cast iron anvils. I had them for $30 down there, and I marked it down to $20. So I'll have them. I have them here, and I'll have them down at Quad State again. Okay, I just remembered one other little thing I've got. I'm going to burn some of these out. There'll be a 2-piece deal where they slip together, then you just have to tack weld them together. No, that's backwards. There you can see it. You know what it is? It's the F-bomb. I painted it up and dipped it in gray paint and dipped the nose in red. But there's an F-bomb if you need something like that as a joke. I'll probably sell them for $5 for the 2-piece kit.